If you play for the name on the front of the jersey, they'll remember the name of the back. Okay, now AC has started. It's beginning to sweat a bit. We do have turbo cool on, so things should be fine in like some time. I'm just gonna take this extra buffer time to really shut down all these extra windows I have open, because it just unnecessarily slows down things. How's it going? It's almost like I'm doing a live stream, which nobody's watching. I've just gotten so used to this idea of nobody's watching me that it just doesn't affect me anymore, and I don't know if it's a nice thing or no, but I have gone numb to the fact that, hey look, nobody's ever gonna watch this video. I'm gonna pretend as if the world is going to. It's been working out really good for me, so I'm gonna stick to that. I think I can just let the turbo cool low roll behind, no worries. Good evening, welcome back to In The Khud. This is November 4th 2022, 6:40 p.m. So today I woke up at 6 a.m. I'm gonna just shut turbo cool off. Snowy has been kinda unwell, like he did not eat anything properly the whole day yesterday. And even today in the morning when I woke up, usually when he sees me first time in the morning after waking up, he's all excited and comes and like cuddles and that whole thing that he does. It wasn't as excited as it normally is, so you can like feel after a few days or so, just out of nowhere, he just kind of becomes sick or unwell. So here these set of emojis are actually trying to tell a story. I did take him down because I went and I saw him. I asked if he wants to go down, and he continued sleeping, so I was like, okay fine. I was kind of happy actually. I came back in, I thought, okay, now I have an additional half an hour or 40 minutes if I'm not taking him down, and I could use it to maybe do something in the course or whatever. By the time I came back in, he was up and ready, and you know he wants to go down. But when I did take him down, within 5 minutes I had to just come back up, because I don't know why, but any kind of major sound that comes from the road, like maybe the truck is going on the road, he's alarmed and he's scared and he just wants to go and hide into some small place, like a secluded place. There's some construction going on in the building that's on the other side, and listening to those sounds, he's like, oh my god, I'm scared. The other day it was the dogs barking on the street, so he just wanted to come back home, so within like 5 or 7 minutes I came back home. I think he'll be fine. It just is like a recurring pattern that we've been noticing, that after some time he just starts to behave weirdly and then he becomes normal again. So hopefully he'll be normal back soon. Then I watched 2 to 3 BCS advanced course videos. Basically stuff is going over my head. So I am just sitting and watching the videos because it's just fun to see Erendel go about teaching things in his very structured format, and using vector math and all the dot product and vector math stuff that he's doing. Yeah, I need to at some point start thinking about applying these things, because they're very, very powerful. Essentially what I want to do is obviously not create the scene that he's making. Of course that can be a good practice, and I will do that, but take away like points in from the course which are like more geared towards conceptual things, which I can then apply into my own scenes and stuff like those. So it's an ongoing process. It won't happen overnight or anything. Definitely, like everything else significant that I've been able to achieve, it's almost always taken decent amount of time, like a long-term thing. So I'm looking at that in that manner. Again, it seems like a full-time job heavy day. Might get time to pull off some episodes. I feel that did not happen. Ordinary Folk is no ordinary motion graphics channel. Ton of study material right here. So there's a YouTube channel called Ordinary Folk. I will just quickly show this channel that I'm talking about. Okay, I misspelled it, but anyway, this channel has some real beautiful videos for motion graphics. I mean, you look at it and you're like, how is this even done? I mean, today I have been using After Effects for a while, but like I look at things like these, I'm like, is that done in After Effects? I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of 3D to be done inside After Effects, so I do look at it in this way that this could be very, very interesting to do inside Blender, and especially using geometry nodes. I mean, now that I actively try thinking about it, all of this can be very easily done inside Blender using geometry nodes, and this could officially be a thing that I transition for motion graphics completely into Blender, having the capability of also like just pull up your 3D sleeves at any point and have 3D happening. But I mean, look at this video, and it just is like, oh, there's so much happening, and it just blows your mind up. And this is one of the references that was shared across to me for the freelance work that I spoke about in yesterday's documentation. It's very exciting, very nice, but so a little bit of a gap. I just got mom's call in between, so I will not have track of how far I have come in the time, but that's okay. Getting to the important point for the day, I just spoke about how ordinary focus, no ordinary motion efficient, a lot to learn there. This is one amazing thing that happened today. I had to work on these couple of videos for the full-time job, and while I was doing this, I was coming across this problem that multiple layers need to be scaled up, and those scale keyframes need to be like offset a little bit to have that like a wave kind of impact coming up. You can obviously go about making scale keyframes and doing it manually, using Rift and doing all that stuff, but what I am super interested in is doing it very procedurally in a way that I want to do everything as far as transformation is concerned using the transform effect and not the layers actual transform properties like position, scale, rotation. So what I did is I tried doing it on the transform effect, but I ran into a very simple problem that and I can actually show it. So let me just live demonstration of the problem that I was facing, and I'll just create a bunch of folders. I'm going to import something to work with. Yeah, that's perfect. Just make a comp of it. Let's say if I was to do that scale thing, I was to add a transform effect on it. Let's say for this layer, the anchor point was at the bottom, right? So I would want that scale to happen from the bottom, but look what happens when I scale it. So if I, after a second, give a scale keyframe at 100, start from 0, what will happen is the transform effect will always scale it up from the center, because that's where the transform effect control is, if you see the anchor point in that. Now the workaround that I figured out for this is, what we want to happen is that the anchor point of the transform effect should always match with the anchor point of the layer. So that's the first step. So what you want to do is you want to take this, and I think if you press E, just press E here, you get this transform effect, the anchor point of this layer, and I also want the anchor point of the layer, so I'm just going to press Shift A. There was this way where you could just isolate these effects, but anyway, I'm just gonna do it right now. So I'm gonna alt stopwatch on anchor point, and here I'm gonna come in here and equip to the anchor point. So we get this expression transform.anchor point. So what is happening now is the anchor point of the transform effect matches the anchor point of the layer, but there is one more problem now, and that problem is that the position has gone up once we do that. So again, the scaling will, now it is happening from the bottom of the layer, but the layer bounds and the layer itself is a little offset. So what you want to do is even the position has to match with where the anchor point is. What you want to do is have the position of the transform effect be equal to the value of the anchor point. So this I came up after a bit of trial and error. Initially I was trying to think of, okay, this is 0 0, this will be 0 plus layer weight and everything, the way I did for the mask script, but this is a much easier way to do it. So I just hit enter, and now what will happen is wherever this simple thing just makes sure that wherever this anchor point is, oh, I actually made a mask, wherever this anchor point is, the scale will always be happening from that point. So if the anchor point is up, the scale will be happening from here. If it is in the center, the scale will be happening from here. And the reason we did all this jagojahat instead of doing scale keyframes is now I can take the actual layer itself, scale it wherever I want to, like maybe move it here or somewhere here, but it will still go from 0 to 100 like it's supposed to be happening. And this was very particularly useful in the case of the video I was working on, is because the video had multiple layers which were of different size, like PNGs, which are maybe the size of the PNG is very different. So a scale of 7 would be equal to a scale of 37, like this is 37. So some other layer scale of 8 or 7 would be this much. So when you copy paste keyframes or even the transform effect, it just becomes very big because it's scaling it to a massive number. But if you're doing it through transform effect, it's always going to take 0 to 100, as in regardless of this scale, the transform effect is always going to take it from 0 to 100. So basically going from nothing to its full value. This is very powerful procedurally. And so the next thing I did is I made a script for it. Now if you see here, my workstation is looking a little different. I have opacity switch, which is one of my very successful scripts, and here I just basically saved as this pop script here, in, out, and this is the amount of time. So let's say I want to pop this in, I'm going to make this bigger. I want to pop this in like 30 frames. So I'm going to come in here with this layer selected, just press on in. So you'll see within 30 frames it's just popping in. Okay. And again, that same logic still applies here. If the anchor point is here, it will pop in from here. And again, I can even scale the layer. Okay, now Yeah, again, because the anchor point is there. Scale the layer and make it smaller, and will still be happening the way it should. Okay, and I can also come in here and use the pop out. So this one, let's say I want to pop it out in 20 frames, so pop out, and I just play it, it goes back down in 20 frames. I could even have it go down here, but the problem then is that it will also come in from here. You could maybe do a thing where if you want to come in from this point and go down from, you can actually have the anchor point move, but this is not what this script is about. Maybe that can be an additional feature that we add at some point. So yeah, this was the majority of the thing that I did today. I'm just gonna delete these two transforms. Should probably also rename the transform as pop in or pop out. Now this is a script that already works beautifully. I just press this button, switch, it just makes a checkbox which will have its opacity go on and off. Again, it's not the opacity of the layer. We could have done it through a transform effect, right? Okay, that can be added. Fade in is definitely happening through a transform effect. You are still linking it with the opacity. The checkbox, okay, is coming from the previous one. Yeah. So this fade in, if you see fading in at 20 is happening on the transform effect. For switch part, I have to just put it on the transform effect, that's all. And I can come in here and I can fade out. So it will fade out in 20 seconds. That's beautiful. These are two powerful scripts that I have made. Nullify dock, it just makes, depending on single layer or multiple layers, makes a null layer above it. I don't know why it's making it here. That's one thing that we have to work on. Group is like if there are multiple layers and stuff. And line path dock also needs work. Basically the last thing that I was trying to work on today is I want to have one consistent bar at the bottom, because with this setup it works fine, like having all these things in the side. But I want to keep in mind that at some point I will also have to work on a laptop, like let's say if I'm going to office or something. So I do not want to have so much of real estate just wasted like that. So what I want to do is definitely club this whole section, these 4 different scripts, and there'll be a lot more. So I need a text counter, as in I will have this one box and this one box. I will just enter values like let's say 0, 100, press a button, it will make a text layer for me, and that text layer will be going from 0 to 100 automatically with the slider and math.round everything. And if I want to go for like very large numbers, it will have a checkbox that allows you to do that as well. That is going to come, and there are a few more things that I want to be integrating into my workflow. And then there'll be like a very sleek looking, very professional mobile kind of thing at the bottom here, and then I'm going to be using this very frequently. Should take my workflow to the next level. Already this script that I have, what is this? Already this mask script that I have, it just saves me so much time. Like I just press a button here, like let's say up, or I press down. I use this like a lot, so the knowledge of scripting and everything is just coming together so beautifully, and I love it. This is the majority of what I have done today. Small things I've learned: every time some action is done on a script, it is good to have the timeline become active again. The way you do is simply adding com.open in viewer before the app.end undo group. So if you see this here, if I press pop in, like if I want to pop out for 20, if I just press this button, you will see what happened is automatically the composition got active after pressing the button. So in, let's say in case of this, when I press this button, the script is still active, but when I do shift page down, it actually jumps to the composition automatically, but was not happening while I was testing. So that's just one small thing nice to have learned. If you play for the name on the front of the jersey, they'll remember the name of the back. It was a very beautiful video where Ryan Holiday talks about a few questions, like 12 or so questions you should ask yourself often. And this point was related to, do you want to be known for who you are, like your name, or the things that you do? And then, is this year going to be a lifetime or dead time for you? And the time right now, especially this particular year, has definitely been a lifetime for me, especially from June 2020 or July 2022. Since I've started this daily vlog, I'm soon, like tomorrow only, I'm gonna sit and make my shorts content for this channel, and then we're gonna probably have a lot more viewers on this channel who will have actively decided that, you know what, this guy is this nerdy kind of person who sits inside a room with kind of cinematic light. He thinks it is cinematic. I hope it is. Bruh. And he talks about like very code nerdy stuff and how his day was, how much work he's done. They voluntarily signed up for it. They're interested in knowing it. Great. We can also learn something from what I'm learning every single day in real time. That's what the plan is. Workouts have been going absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I think this time I'm really on to something with my workouts, and just looking at the consistency that's been coming in. So did core like yesterday, 35 minutes of that Les Mills core with Rhett. Amazing. Core is feeling sore for the very first time. Thanks so much for being in the khud. I will catch you tomorrow. Peace.